It's becoming clear to the left that they're about to be exposed big time. This impeachment spectacle is almost like their prebuttal to the Durham investigation. And the deep staters are starting to sweat for obvious reasons. Joining me now is Ken Starr, former Whitewater independent counsel, Fox News contributor, and Kim Strassel, Wall Street Journal editorial board member, and also Fox News contributor and author of Resistance at All Costs. Ken, this is how Comey responded when he was asked about the Durham investigation.
I'm not worried about a single thing in connection with any of the matters under investigation. I'm confident that when the American people see the picture of why we did what we did, their confidence in the institution will be maintained, restored, and protected.
Ken, that's pretty cool as a cucumber kind of deal from Comey. You buying that?
Well, he sounds very confident, but here is a problem with that self-confidence. We have heard from the Attorney General of the United States, Bill Barr, who is upright, total honesty, that not only is this a criminal investigation now, but great progress. And what we also know is that Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General, is on top of his game. And I think between the two of them, these very great professional people who everyone respects, we're going to know a whole lot. So I would say no one should be too terribly confident in light of the seriousness of the investigations.
Kim Strassel, the efforts to malign the character of Bill Barr and John Durham, two people who Ken said are, I mean, their background, their integrity, their service to country, it's just really unimpeachable. But again, if you are even objective toward this administration, you're venal. If you're supporting the administration, forget it. You're never going to be called a patriot. What about that? And does that start to wear thin with the American public?
Well, look, the attacks on them, I think it's a measure of the fear of what is coming, because what you're seeing, and it's been somewhat overshadowed by impeachment, has been this relentless, now almost daily delegitimization campaign. And, you know, I'd say, too, it's one thing to level that at Bill Barr and that he's a political figure. I don't think it's right or correct. He's been very straight up in that job. But what is really detestable are the attacks you are seeing on John Durham and even Inspector General Michael Horowitz. I mean, Jerry Nadler and Adam Schiff came out and essentially accused Durham as serving as a lapdog to the Attorney General. This is a guy who served his country most of his adult professional life, taken on the mafia, looked into the CIA. He deserves a lot better than that. And I think those kind of things are shocking and should be shocking to Americans, that they're willing to even go to that level. And by the way, these are the same people who also lectured us all week that you cannot say anything questioning the integrity of the people, the government officials who are appearing in front of their committees.
Right. They're sainted if they resist Trump. That period. I mean, they're saints. If you resist Trump, you're a saint, no questions asked. You can never, ever raise a question. All right, Ken, with tomorrow's big vote, though, I want to move on to the rules that the Democrats laid out yesterday. They seemed rigged. Okay, Nadler has the discretion to deny the president and his counsel the ability to call or question witnesses or otherwise impose appropriate remedies if the administration refuses to make witnesses available for testimony or fails to produce documents to any House investigating committee. So which part of that screams fair process, Ken?
No, they have moved a little bit in terms of the public nature of these events. It's long overdue. But yes, when you analyze what powers the Republicans have, it really is at the discretion of Adam Schiff. And I think there's another colossal blunder by the Speaker of the House, who has empowered Adam Schiff, who, in contrast to past impeachment inquiries, first of all, he's not the chair of the House Judiciary Committee, but leave that aside. Here is the fundamental problem. In contrast to Peter Rodino, Democrat, Nixon, in contrast to Henry Hyde, Republican, Clinton, those two impeachments, on both sides of the aisle, people said, we have a chair of the committee who's fundamentally fair and is fundamentally a good person who loves his country. And there are great stories, very briefly, that after Peter Rodino voted in favor of the impeachment of Richard Nixon, he retired to his private chambers and cried like a baby because he loves the country.
Yeah.
We're so far removed from that.
Kim, here's something else that the Dems wrote in the document for themselves. The provision gives Nadler broad discretion to punish Trump for any stonewalling any aspect of the Democrats' impeachment investigation. If Trump doesn't turn over his tax returns to the Ways and Means Committee or his financial records to the Financial Services Panel, Nadler can use his discretion to deny him and his counsel access to impeachment proceedings. So,
yeah, and by the way, let's point out, too, that everything proceeds as it's proceeding now until it gets to the Judiciary Committee, which means that Schiff is allowed to continue operating in secret, and the White House remains blackballed from that entire procedure during the entire part of the time that Schiff is collecting evidence that he's going to put into a report. They don't even get to interact until it moves over to the Judiciary Committee when this is already pretty much a done deal. But then, yes, you're right, they've included this club in there, for which Jerry Nadler can use it to try to say, you have to comply with every subpoena we've ever given you, no matter what it does to executive privilege.
Right. Let's shatter that. Ken, really quickly, how should the White House respond to this request for a member of the White House counsel's office, this meaning the NSC counsel, which is under the umbrella of the White House counsel, and another White House counsel official, slightly lower level official? How do you respond to that request if you're the White House?
Yes, I would resist. The executive privilege and attorney-client privilege, these are sacrosanct. The president can waive them if he so chooses. But this is intruding into the heart of the presidential decision-making. And my guidance would be resist. Let's take it to court. That's why we have the Article 3 judiciary.
So force them to take the administration into court, correct?
That's what I would recommend. The other side, of course, is that you're going to be held in contempt, or that's going to be added to the articles of impeachment. But I think the right thing to do for the sake of the presidency is to resist.
All right. Ken and Kim, thank you so much tonight. Great seeing both of you. And speaking of impeachment and the Democrats' process, are pollsters also to blame for driving this impeachment narrative? Are they part of this narrative to gin up support for impeachment? Case in point. This is USA Today's Suffolk poll. Looks kind of troubling for Trump. 46% believing that Trump should be impeached and removed from office. But then when you break it all down, the findings look a bit shakier than what the resistance crowd believes. 36% believe the House should impeach Trump. 22% believe they should continue the inquiry but not impeach. 37% believe they should drop the investigation. Joining me now to analyze is John McLaughlin, Trump 2020 campaign pollster. John, what do these numbers tell us? Because the headline, of course, is always couched to look the worst for this president.
Right. They're arguing and framing the impeachment. The media bias is framing it for the Democrats. And you're exactly right. The Republicans in the Senate should step up and cut this off right now, because tomorrow there's a sham resolution being proposed by Pelosi in the House precisely because they're reacting to the numbers. We had a poll that we put out last Thursday where 52 to 36% among likely voters, they said this is a political, not a legal impeachment. So only a third thinks it has to do with legal. And 47 to 33% the voters said the president shouldn't comply with this because it's being held in secret and he doesn't have due process. And 59% of all voters said this is a waste of time and Congress needs to start solving the nation's problems. And the Washington Post the next day attacked us for the worst impeachment poll ever, because their poll, when they put it out last time, they had too few Republicans, too many independents, and framed the arguments for the Democrats.
Yeah, the devil is always in the details, the sampling and the wording of questions.
Absolutely.
But they're snapshots, okay? John, Byron York, he made an interesting point. It was yesterday.
Yes.
And he writes that the poll reveals Americans hold complex views of the Trump impeachment. Democrats are hoping now that televised hearings will convince Americans that the president must be impeached. But that didn't work out that well, did it, with Mueller? So what about that? Should the Democrats think long and hard about the